everyone. Happy Thursday. We're here with a special guest, Kevin DeCapity. Now, Kevin and I met at NORWAC. He was the illustrious driver to Judith Hill, who's a friend of mine. So I met Kevin through Judith, and we just got to talking. And it turns out that Kevin makes astrology software. So we wanted to kind of meet him and see what was up. So first of all, Kevin, how long have you been? Well, what's your sun, moon, and rising?
Oh, okay. Sure. Sure. Well, thanks for having me on, Andrea. This is cool. It was great to meet you, like you said, at NORWAC and everything. My sun is Sagittarius, moon is Pisces, and rising sign is Virgo.
Yeah, you're triple mutable. I remember that from yeah, from meeting you. Where's your Mercury?
Also Sagittarius.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's in the fourth house.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
It
Okay,
is.
interesting.
Yeah.
Now, what kind of astrologer are you? Are you modern, psychological? I mean, how would you define your
The term that I've been using is transpersonal astrology. That's the one that I was taught from my teacher who I studied with down in Los Angeles some years back. I got into astrology in 2011, and his background is in psychology and social work, but also a lot of spirituality and kind of esoteric readings and studies and things like that over the years. And so his teaching was always oriented around the psychological side of things in terms of, to some degree healing and all that, but really kind of more about integration and then moving ourselves into just higher states of consciousness and higher levels of awareness in terms of who we are actually as beings and as people and what might be our purpose, not just on Earth currently, but even what is a greater purpose? Is there a greater purpose? And if so, what is that greater purpose for humanity and for us as individuals? So my astrological practice is always kind of based on, with that kind of philosophical underpinning, you could say, which is really what's the purpose of anything? That's always kind of my question when I'm looking at a chart.
interesting? Yeah, and I mean, I would say that astrology is built for that question in a lot of ways. Like I'm a teleological astrologer, which is like the ancient a study of like people becoming themselves, and it's like, what is yourself? It's like your life purpose and stuff like that. So what you do definitely fits in with what we do at the Moira Press School. So who was your teacher exactly?
His name's Jim Scher,
Jim
S-H,
Shear.
yeah, S-H-E-R, and his website is sharastrology.com.
Oh,
But
interesting. And how long did you study with him?
studied with him for about 4 years, uh, pretty regularly, several times a week. And at one point, it was always a group format, which was really cool. It was all in person. This is all way before COVID, and so lots of in-person small group stuff and all of that. So we spent about 4 years together, and I'm still in contact with him now. He continues to be a mentor and friend and so on. So.
Nice. So now do you do readings for people?
I've done some, but I never found that that was really where I felt super comfortable. Kind of a little bit more introverted, grew up as kind of a computer kid and an autodidact kind of person. So I just prefer to kind of do a self practice. And then I work with it with my wife, of course, and friends and that sort of thing. But uh, it's more like what you were saying, using it kind of in that philosophical way to say, to answer some of these bigger questions of life that
Yeah. It's
astrology
interesting.
is so suited for. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. It's just interesting because people always think a good astrologer is always a chart reader. But there's the philosophical side of astrology, and then there's the technical side. And I think that you can be a really amazing astrologer, philosophically speaking. Like you don't even have to be that technical to be a good astrologer, to kind of like know what questions and answers are looked at by astrology and things like that. Now, are you a transit watcher? Do you watch your transits?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely something that I look at regularly. Well, and like you said, I've got the software, so I'm always in it
Yeah.
anyway, looking at things. So, yeah, I use transits, secondary progressions. I use a fair amount of techniques, I guess, but definitely on the more the modern side than the traditional side. I know there's a lot more. It gets pretty technical when you start looking at more of the traditional stuff.
Yeah.
So I take a broader kind of picture view, like you're saying.
Interesting. Okay, awesome. So, Now let's look into Luna. So Luna is your baby. It's your software. And you
Yeah.
said the website is lunaastrology.com, but let's talk
Yeah.
about Luna. I guess what makes Luna special?
Yeah. No, it's a great question. There's a lot of things, a lot of answers that come to mind. So I guess the from a customer standpoint or like a user standpoint, I think what makes it special is that it's simple to use. I think it looks nice. I tried to make it look as attractive as possible and immersive so that people could be focused on what they're trying to do and not be distracted by confusing menus or ads. I know a lot of Astro websites out there have ads and things like that. So this is a movement towards simplicity and clean aesthetic. So that and also it's cloud. So you can run it everywhere. It runs on your phone, runs on your Mac, Windows, whatever. So totally cross-platform and all of that, which is nice.
Interesting. Well, first of all, with your Virgo rising, I would expect a clean aesthetic. So I'm not surprised there.
Yeah.
So you're saying that if you subscribe to Luna, basically you can get it on any device that you have. I don't know a lot about computers, but if it's in the cloud, it means that it kind of lives outside the device and you can access it anywhere.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So, uh, yeah, I kind of have a slogan, one price, every device. So you just pay the one price and that's it. So you can go between your Android phone and your Mac desktop or a Windows computer and your iPhone or tablet, whatever you want to do.
Interesting. Now, how long have you been working on Luna?
So I started Luna it was probably really since 2018. It was like December of 2017 that I realized I think I can actually do this. I think I'm ready to take the first steps and get serious about this. Because when I got into astrology, as I mentioned back in 2011, I saw some of the software that was out there. And although it's really robust, a lot of the tools that are out there, it's also pretty expensive and being like you said, that Virgo rising, kind of enjoying the clean aesthetics. I wanted something cleaner, but I just wasn't into place. Honestly, just from a technical standpoint, I didn't have the chops to do it.
Hmm.
So through learning and improving my own skills, it wasn't until about 2018 that I was able to go hardcore, kind of not full time. I was still doing my other work full time, but evenings, weekends, all of that was working on Luna, and then launched at Norwalk in 2019. Actually, since you mentioned
Interesting.
Norwalk, yeah,
Okay, so now I don't know anything about computers, but like what language do you code in?
yeah. I use PHP, which is a well-known web language. It's been around forever. I got into it back in like the late 90s, and I just never left because it's been good to me. So.
Interesting. Yeah, it seems like some do Python, some do Java or something like that. I don't really know. So PHP. Okay.
Yeah, it's all good. I mean, I kind of look at it like I always like to say, it's not the car, it's the driver. It's not the instrument, it's the musician. So you can kind of make something great with any language in programming, or you can make something kind of terrible in any
Yeah,
language.
it has to do with the end user interface or something. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That means like how the person experiences using the
Hmm?
product, right? Not necessarily what the mechanical stuff is inside there.
Right. Well, there's two parts, I'd say. So yeah, for sure, what you said, absolutely. Like if a programmer or a software company doesn't deliver something that's usable for an end user or a customer, then that's a failure, I think. It has to be something that a person can engage with simply. But then there's also the code base underneath all of that. You know, so as a user, you just kind of see the top level, which is sort of the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot going on under the hood there,
Yeah.
and or under the surface of the water. And if that's not well organized and well written, it can be a nightmare to maintain it and grow it and so on. So
So then what ephemeris do you use in the program?
it uses the Swiss ephemeris, which
Oh,
is kind of I think just about everybody uses that one.
okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, it's a library that's available and pretty
Okay.
well known and pretty rock solid. So we all love using
Interesting.
that one. Yeah.
Okay, okay. All right, so do you want to show it to us?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay.
So I will go ahead and share just this window here. Do I have well, I'll find out if I have
Yeah, you
permission.
can share.
Okay.
Oh, that is very clean.
So do you see just this window or are you seeing my whole screen?
I see your desktop and uh
Oh, okay.
this window.
I meant to only see the window, but I mean, that's okay, but it might be
Oh,
too
you have
small.
a really clean desktop.
I know I keep it as clean as possible.
You don't even want to see my desktop. I'm a Pisces moon, so it's like I'm just everywhere.
I get it. I get it. It can go there pretty fast. Yeah.
Well, look, the chart of the moment.
This is the chart of, yeah, when we this is the 2:30 chart, basically when we started this call. I can do it.
This moon Mercury opposed Pluto is kind of interesting.
What are you
And I,
taking from it? What are you
what's my
feeling?
take on that?
Yeah, what are you feeling from it? Yeah.
Oh, well, it's on my Sun Mercury square Mars, so I'm actually like going in a debate town and being like really intense on my Facebook page. So I'm
Mhm.
definitely feeling it. It's like I just want to debate about every single contentious thing in astrology. But I think for the larger, group of people, there is going to be in like really interesting, intense discussions because of the Mercury Pluto, So I think, and tonight's the trigger of it. So I'm watching with my telescope.
Let's take a look here. Yeah. So when is it exact?
Oh wow, wait, that's so cool that you what you just did.
So you can, this is a good kind of a little feature walkthrough. I just clicked on the opposition aspect, which the first thing it did is it highlighted it. So let me go back to where we were. So here's the chart, and you can
Wow.
see the Mercury Pluto opposition. I just clicked on that. That isolated the aspect so you can look at
Uh,
it.
That is beautiful.
And then if you do it one more time, you get the this little data card, I call it. And so it kind of gives you some of the breakdown. Here's the waxing, applying opposition. And then you get to see, in this case, because it's a transiting aspect, you get to see exactly when it'll perfect. So June 29th, 2025. And then it just tells you here, obviously an opposition is an angle of 180 degrees, but currently the arc distance between them is just under that, 176 degrees with a 3.5 degree, or not 3.5, excuse me, a 3 degree orb. Um,
Wow, that is so helpful. That it's cool. It shows when it's exact, how big
mhm.
the orb is. That's yeah, I don't use a lot of programs, but that
Okay.
does seem helpful.
Do you do charts by hand
I
or
do,
just
well, I mean, like I'll use astro.com to, yeah, but yeah, I do draw a lot of charts by hand. I do a lot of chart explosions on different wheels and things like that. But
I remember seeing some of that at Norwich, actually. You were
yeah,
showing me how you some of the art that you create.
yeah.
That's great. You can
This
click
is
on this
cool.
too then if you want. So I'll just click on that. And so here's the chart for that exact Mercury.
No way. That is so cool. Oh my God. So you get to see what's going on during an exact aspect. Wow, I don't
Exactly.
know that I've ever seen a program do exactly that. That is fascinating. Huh.
So it makes it nice to kind of walk through the data a little bit. I've, like you said, your Pisces moon, I've got that as well. And I think that the whole idea with one of the things about Pisces is the connectivity and the fluidity between the things that are connected to each other. And so fluidity and fluency are sort of guiding design principles in this. I
Hmm.
try to keep things as kind of fluent as possible.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, we'll have a Leo moon for that one.
Oh,
Uh,
interesting.
Now you can also, I could just click on Mercury, let's say, and then it'll isolate just all the aspects Mercury is making. So before I clicked on specifically that Mercury-Pluto aspect, but I can also click on an individual planet and then see everything it's doing. So obviously it's trining the Saturn, Neptune. Can flip over to Pluto. And Pluto is also then sextiling the Saturn, Neptune, of course, and then trining Uranus out
Hmm.
of sign. But there you go.
That's very interesting. It's like you can walk around the chart getting little pieces of the puzzle, and that's very helpful.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. So
And I
then,
should mention, you can zoom in on it. Now, here on a desktop, it's not really necessary to do. We have a pretty large screen, but when you're on a mobile device, it's really nice to be able to do something like that. Um, you can also go a little bit further. So let me click on Saturn again. I have a data card specifically for the actual chart points or the planets. So this one's a little bit more involved than the aspect one, as you can see, because now it's giving you kind of like a little profile of Saturn, what it's doing, its placement. It's there at 1 degree Aries, which is a cardinal fire sign. It's telling you it's direct. It's in the 12th house of this chart. We've got a little bit of content in here. So this, speaking back to my teacher, Jim Scher. So this is content from him. Uh,
Okay, interesting. I was going to ask if you have like delineations in here. So interesting. So you do have delineations.
for the signs, planets, and houses, we do, and we're working on more.
Okay.
So that,
So the
but
aspects not quite yet.
not yet for the aspects, correct? But a lot of that stuff in development, as they say. So
Oh, in development. Okay. That's why they call it software development.
exactly.
All right,
Uh,
interesting. Okay.
and you can
So,
do some things. Oh, go ahead. Yeah,
oh
ask
no,
your
no,
question.
I was just so you see the Saturn in Aries. So then if you clicked on the Aries, you'd see a delineation for Aries as well.
Oh, right. Yes, right here.
Okay, and I see, I see. Okay, fascinating. Okay.
Yeah. And this is, takes that transpersonal approach I was talking to you about, where we kind of build up from just basic behaviors and characteristics, which is sort of a little bit, you might say, pop astrology, if this is what you're like if you're an Aries, that sort of thing. And then we build out from there into some of the more psychological dynamics and then into what we would call like a highest expression. So a lot of it's very influenced by Dane Rudhyar, I should say,
Oh,
as
interesting.
well. So he's definitely an inspiration
Huh. Well,
for.
okay, so I know this is your show and we're all about you on this show, but I
No,
do want
it's
to weave it in with like the students who are going to see this video.
please.
So I just think in the students at our school study teleological astrology, which, if you look at ancient astrology, it was actually to really look at the manifestation of a person to the nth degree. Like, so,
Mm. Okay.
so it was looking at like what's growing here, and then how can we have the highest expression of what's growing here? Like everyone thinks that Hellenists were all fate-based and stuff, but really, if you study teleology, the philosophy underpinning it, it was saying how can we grow this person to the nth degree, to the highest expression. So it looks like that's actually what you have in this software is what is the sign, what is the highest expression of that, and so in some ways you're very aligned with what the students at Moira Press School would be interested in. So maybe this is a compatible software to what they're trying to do because it looks into that kind of development theory aspect to it.
Absolutely. I mean, so far that sounds like there's complete alignment. The terminology, words that we use, to me, I don't really get too hung up on specific words because everyone can use a different word for a different idea. It's really the ideas that matter and then the application of those ideas that really is what matters. And so it's like what you just said, I like your expression, taking a person or an archetype to the nth degree. I'm always thinking about it like that. Sometimes I use the word red line. Like I want to, I use kind of like a car engine metaphor. I want to red line what's possible with these things with
What's that?
astrology.
What's it mean to redline?
Oh, just if you're on an engine, if you're redlining, if you're flooring it, and the RPM gauge gets into the red, it's you're overheating the engine, you're all out, the car's shaking, you're gonna overheat and but you're driving really fast. So
That's so interesting. We call that mega manifestation. That's like our term
yeah.
for that. But I see what you're saying. We have
Okay.
aligned concepts, but you're kind of the more
Uh-huh.
modern approach, and we're the more kind of Hellenistic side of things. Can we read the highest manifestation of Aries? Is that
Let's do it. Yeah, that'd be
let's
great.
hear what it says.
Absolutely. So I think it actually does. It's the order is kind of interesting. So it starts with motivation and needs, which would be a little bit more psychological, and then path the highest expression is next, and then the behaviors and characteristics are just kind of put down at the bottom. Um, so why don't we do both if you don't mind, the
Sure.
motivation and then the path? So for motivation and needs, it says Aries is here to develop a strong sense of self. It does this by being active and initiating because without this, it can feel as if it doesn't exist. It is developing self-awareness, which grows as it becomes active in its environment. This is why Aries feels as if the world exists for their experience alone. This suggests that Aries experiences a tenderness about its own existence and life itself. Aries needs to act independently, face challenges, and display courage. Aries experiences the immediate moment fully and desires to carry out self-assertion in the world. So it's motivated by this need to express itself and experience itself directly. So,
Nice. I like that verbiage.
and the path to highest expression is next. So, which says Aries carries within it, knowingly or not, a seed within. And it is the nature of Aries to feel a surging impetuosity and a powerful need to initiate action that will somehow express that seed. But if it does so indiscriminately, can that seed survive? Is it not necessary at times to adapt to circumstances at certain critical moments? The need to adapt arises as Aries realizes that those who release a new spiritual image, quote unquote, are too rare to be recklessly expendable. They must learn to adapt themselves and protect the spiritual seed within and find ways to direct their creative impulses and activities into socially acceptable channels while also looking for every opportunity to let that seed within be expressed as fully as possible.
Nice. I love it. It's so eloquent and kind of not simple, but it's not like super abstract or, inaccessible. It seems very tangible and helpful.
That's great feedback actually, because so Jim and then another student of his who I know who I was in class together with, they worked a lot on these specifically for Luna, so that we'd have something that was exactly as you just said, that was concise but still applicable, you know, so that it doesn't get too abstract and you don't get too lost in it.
Mhm. Oh,
Um,
that's interesting. So for Saturn and Aries, the person would just kind of meld the delineation of Saturn with that of Aries, and then we have like a nice little package of
exactly.
how to understand Saturn and Aries.
Right. It's kind of set up as like a building block kind of situation. You know, if we had started with Saturn, we could read the function, let's say, and purpose of Saturn, and then switch to Aries and say, okay, well, now Saturn is operating in this Arian way, which of course is kind of a bit of a paradox, those
Yeah.
two, those two acting together.
Interesting. And so it says cardinal on the top, and then what's the thing next to it?
It says fire.
Okay,
So
okay,
this is
so
just,
cardinal and fire.
yeah, exactly. Because over here on the left, then, where I highlighted, that's just telling you the placement, 1 degree, 46 minutes of Aries, which then is a cardinal fire sign. So I try to build out little reinforcement learning tools too, because one of the things that's been important to me is to address newcomers to astrology. I think, there's a lot of folks who want something a little bit more than, let's say, the astro.com with where there's ads and things like that. They're taking it quite seriously, but they don't maybe have the money to put into something that's really robust and super expensive. So this kind of is a nice gap for fits into a gap for a lot of folks, I think.
Guys, how much is it to get Luna?
So there's two pricing plans. It's one is 7.99 per month, and then the other is 59.99 per year. And so you save quite a bit. If you the yearly fee basically is $5 a month if you're willing to pay for a year.
That's super cheap, honestly. I mean, that's like buying one coffee a month and
Yeah,
getting this whole
yeah,
app.
exactly. And I'll also say that I have something that I call the loyalty program that everyone is automatically a part of. So anytime I raise prices, which I've done a few over the years, I don't raise prices for existing customers, only for new customers. So if you sign up today, let's say, and pay your $7.99 per month, as long as you keep an active subscription and all of that stuff, that's what you'll pay indefinitely.
Wow.
'Cause subscription burnout it's a hassle. I want to avoid that for people as much as possible.
Interesting. Okay, so let's say we wanted to, well, I don't know if you want to show me other features because I have questions, but I don't want to.
I like you asking the questions. That's
Okay,
cool. And if there's
okay,
something that I feel like we're missing that's a big deal, I'll let you know.
okay.
Um,
So let's say I want to track like the moon, let's say, or if I want to look at a chart for this Sunday, like I have to draw a wedding chart for this Sunday at noon. Am I able to do that?
yeah, absolutely. So this is the interface. This is the main interface basically that we're looking at here, which is when you log in and you get the transits of the moment. And So I'll give you a quick layout of everything just so you know what's going on. You have your navigation at the top, obviously. We can explore these tabs later, but they kind of take you to more data regarding the chart you're looking at. And then the layout of the screen is that on the left you get the basic data of the chart, so you can see that it's in this particular we loaded that Mercury Pluto opposition, so it's giving me the chart for Sunday, June 29th. And actually, this is interactive, so you can drill into all of these things and get more data. By the
Hmm.
way, we don't have to get into all that, but
Oh,
so
wow,
this is
interesting.
kind of an info panel. And then on the
I see
right,
what you're saying.
oh,
It's very clean and nice that you can like expand and explode things. There's not a lot of like extra stuff on the wheel, and it's very nice.
I try to pack it all in, but not overwhelm, So I always tell people, feel free to click around, interact. You might discover something. But so getting to your question, finally, on the right-hand side, then we've got some navigation tools. So chart menu we'll get to in a little bit. That's the top one, but this bottom one is Space-Time Navigator. So yeah, you could just use this. You can animate the chart. So I can go back, go back to today. So there's today's chart now. You can select from a calendar, you got a little calendar picker, so you can look at the 4th of July if you want. You can set your time and then just cast the chart, and there you go. This is the chart for July 4th at noon, here where I am in Oak Grove, Portland, basically.
Okay, interesting.
So
July.
you want to pull a chart for Sunday, you said, which
It's
would be the
Sunday at noon is when the wedding I'm going to is.
okay. Is it in Portland?
No, it's in Olympia.
Okay. Won't be a super drastically different chart, but it would be a little bit different. So here it is.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting Moon Mars conjunction. Okay, okay.
Are
I had no idea that's what I'd be getting into. Okay, okay, wow.
you officiating the wedding
No,
or?
no, no, I'm just going. But now I know what I'm going into. Wow. Okay, okay, cool. So I see. So okay, so you can do that. Now what happens if you click on like the Pisces symbol?
So that in particular isn't interactive, but that's not a bad idea now that you're saying it to make the actual house cusp uh clickable.
What
Yeah,
if
I
you
kind of
click
like
on the
that
North
idea.
Node?
North Node will give you the same thing that we were seeing before. It shows you the aspects it's making, in this case, a sextile to Venus. And then you can click it again to get more information.
Okay, interesting. Okay,
Uh,
cool.
And then
Um,
you can even do little navigation features here. So you can look at when the North Node will transit different signs. So there's the ingress into Aquarius, which happens next year in August. Uh,
interesting.
as it's going backwards. So this event navigator, if because the nodes are always moving backwards, there's only one option here. But if I were to, let's say, click on Venus, you can look at when Venus changes signs. Okay, so Venus will ingress into Gemini on July 4th, speaking of
Ooh,
July
that's super helpful. Wow, that's super cool.
And then the next direction change will be October of 2026. Venus will go retrograde.
Oh, interesting. That's cool.
So we can just look at
Wow.
that. So kind of quick and easy ways to just sort of see what's happening with a planet.
Yeah, wow, fascinating. Okay, so it's like you can really hone in on different planets in the chart very well with this
Mhm.
software. Okay, fascinating.
Yeah.
I don't think you can do any of that on Astro.com. No offense to Astro.com. I'm just saying.
Right.
I don't think you can do any of
I
that.
haven't seen any interactive features like that, but they have a lot of, technical calculation features, for sure.
Yeah,
So, still a great resource, yeah.
absolutely. So now if you click on one of the aspects in the middle, it'll show you the aspect and all that info, right? Like we talked about.
Exactly, right. So I just clicked on this one. Here's that trine between
And
Uranus
then
and
if you click
Pluto.
on it again, you get that info piece.
Right.
Okay, okay,
It's a data
interesting.
card. Yeah.
So then can you click on the Uranus and Pluto from there?
No, you don't. It doesn't continue from here.
Okay.
It sort of stop. This is kind of like the endpoint here.
Okay.
But then, I can switch to Uranus here. Let me show you this. I think you'll think this is kind of neat. One of the things you can do is let's click on the moon. So it's highlighted. Now I can animate the moon. Let's just do hour by
Oh, that
hour.
was gonna be my next question. Can you animate the moon and look at that?
You can, and if you notice, it's keeping it highlighted and changing the aspects as you go along.
Oh my God, that's so
So you can
cool.
see the aspects the moon is making throughout the day, kind of stays with that sextile to the sun all day.
Wow, that is
Could
so
be. And then
cool.
there, well, it looks like it's void there, and well, it's conjunct Mars, but moving on. And then it picks up an opposition to the nodes. Let's
Wow,
see.
that is
There,
phenomenal.
now Venus shows up. Yeah, so it's kind of a fun way to look at data. Here we are all the way to the end of June now. And you could just do an update to now,
That
take
would
me
be good for
back.
horoscope writers if they're looking for juicy things happening with the moon, for example.
Yeah,
Just animate the moon that way.
that's a great idea. Yeah, that'd be really cool. And you can set the different zodiac signs as the 0 degree point as well if you want. So I've got a bunch of different house systems. I didn't show you all the settings. We don't have to get all geeky about it right now, but there's different settings that you can change here. Um,
Oh, can I see the night setting? The
I
goth
was just gonna
setting?
say, yeah, a lot of people like the dark mode. So there's
Oh my God, I love it. That's more morbid. I like that.
yeah.
Okay. It still looks very clean, like Virgo-esque, but for the Scorpio
Yeah,
in me, I appreciate this. Okay.
you bet.
Actually, do you want to show us some settings? I mean, we have time. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Let's well, obviously you picked up on the color theme, so we got that. There's also, I mean, if you want to go, there's this monochrome setting, which is kind of interesting.
Oh, fascinating. That looks like an architectural blueprint, which I love because, I
Right.
always, equate the chart to like an astral schematic or like a blueprint,
Mhm.
chakra blueprint. So I like that look. That's cool. I've never seen a program look quite like that.
Yeah, it's kind of fun, something. I forget why I implemented that. I had a request from someone. I think there was someone who was somewhat vision impaired, and they wanted an easier way to see things with more contrast.
Hmm.
So I thought maybe this would be useful. Then there's different wheel styles. You can do, like, for instance, if you're using whole sign houses, which I'm not, but if you were, you might want to use something like take the house cusps off because you don't need them if you're using whole signs, so you can just do
Thing.
sign boundaries. Um, I tend to actually use this one a lot, which kind of gives you both. So you get the sign boundaries and then you get the house cusps, which I quite like. So it makes it nice. Just in this case, it's in pretty well aligned. What house system do you use? Do you have one that you like the most, or do you kind of bounce
I'm
around?
a whole signer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Um, some of this is just visual stuff,
Let's
like
see
it's an
it. What is it?
so like these here I'll close these tick marks. See how Uranus is in the eighth here,
Yeah.
but it's if you look at it carefully, it's actually at right on the cusp of the eighth.
Oh,
So
interesting.
there's a little line that indicates that.
Oh my God. In my chart drawing classes, I always address that. I'm like, what if you have a planet that's right next to another thing? And like, what do you do with that? And how do you keep it clean and clear? And
Uh-huh.
that's what you had to do is like make it go over so it wasn't like right drawn on the thing or something.
Ex- Exactly. Well, and then you can change all that stuff. So you can if you don't want it to shift, there's a setting that will turn off that shift, uh, which is this one here. So there, now
Oh,
Uranus is being drawn
interesting.
exactly where it is, but you just have to deal with the fact that it's intersecting that line, and maybe that's okay with you, you know.
Fascinating. Wow. So Virgoic with all the little nuances there.
I know, I know. I personally like it to be kind of shifted over a little bit.
How does
Uh,
your wife like your Virgoic tendencies?
well, her son is in Virgo, so she's pretty happy with it.
Okay, nice.
So that works out quite well. Uh, House systems, so we can switch to whole sign since that's your preferred one. So there we go. Um, we've got some people who practice what's called the evolutionary astrology school. They use a parallax moon, which is basically a topocentric moon. So that setting is in here. If you're a siderealist, we've got some of the ionamshas are in here, so you can change that too. Some of these settings are dynamic as well. So there's some settings you're not seeing because of the chart we're looking at. So if we were looking at a composite chart, you'd see a setting for composite that's not here. Or if we had one of the lots up here, you'd see a setting for the lots that's not showing. Um, I
Wait, so
can
you can put the lots on here?
I've got a lot of spirit and a lot of fortune at the moment. So I'm still work to implement some of the other ones, which there's obviously a lot. Yeah,
A
so we
lot
could
of lots.
seriously. I think I want to make like a lot calculation tool where you kind of put in a formula and then label it and then it calculates it for you. Because every time I read about it, there's so many that that kind of overlap with each other, and then there's just a lot of complexity to it. To create a full inventory of them all, I think would be a little bit onerous. So I kind of like the idea of like you creating one for yourself.
Well, it's crazy because it's like I'm going to say something a little bit controversial, but as somebody who's read like the Hellenistic text in Greek, it's like I discard so much of that ancient information because there's like waffling calculations, or it
Mm,
just doesn't seem that helpful, or there's hardly a delineation anywhere. Like, and I think there's this kind of prevailing idea that every software should have everything and all this kind of stuff, and it's like I think there's some beauty to getting rid of erroneous calculations or superfluous calculations. It's like
mm.
the fact that you don't have the lots is kind of a beautiful thing because it's like then people get lost in like now they're in lots, but like really the beauty of this is kind of the transpersonal nature of it and the kind of modern psychological nature. I mean, do whatever you want, but I'm just saying as a consumer of all, I've done the lit review of the ancient and deal with the modern. I just think this is such a nice modern
Mhm.
tool. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, thank you for having making that observation. I agree. I feel like the information overload is a real thing, and in astrology, it's a massive, probably a problem actually for a lot of folks, especially people who are getting just into it for the first time. They just start throwing everything on the chart. I've seen some charts even in Luna because I support up to 50 different chart points that you can put on here. And then I have the full asteroid catalog on
I was going to
here.
ask about that. Do you have like transit? Yeah, but don't they call that in computer processing noise? Like when you have
Mhm.
erroneous information that doesn't really apply, it's called noise, right? So it's
I
like you look
agree.
at all those as noise to the people at the target market that you're working for, is these kind of like newbie people. I mean, newbie modernists in some way,
That well, and just people who are really practitioners who are having the readings. There's a lot of folks who are, doing just a lot of one-on-one consultations with people. And so one of the nice things about Luna that they always tell me is even their clients like it. So you show someone their chart in here, and even their clients will say, "Oh, this looks great." Because sometimes you show something that's a little bit too technical, and a person who knows nothing about astrology is in there in a consultation session and they look at that and they go, "Oh my God," and they already get overwhelmed. So there's even a little bit of a benefit that, practitioners are having with using something that's more simple and straightforward.
That's what I find when you get a lot of noise in a reading or too many technical points on the schematic, it loses some of the magic of the basics of it. Now, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just being, a
Yeah.
weird interviewer, but I do like the simplicity of Luna. Like I just feel like, oh my God, I just love how focused it is on the 10 planets. Now, wait, now let's go back to this. Okay, so you have asteroids in here, or whatever, trans-Neptunians, or what else is in there?
Yeah. So let's look at the chart points next. There's lots of them. So basically, right now, the chart points are divided into these different tabs. So these are the ones I have currently turned on. So they sit here under my selections. But I've got a category with the planets and the main bodies, which, the usual suspects, and then the nodes, and then the angles, and I've got Lilith in here and things like, and I have the main planetary nodes. But then I've got the asteroid catalog itself, which currently has over 25,000 asteroids in it. Um, that you can browse, that you can search. So if you know one in particular, if you just look for Merlin. So here's Merlin right now. Um, and
You say
then
that because my cat is named Merlin. No, I'm just kidding.
I didn't know. That's cute though.
Oh my God, that's so serendipitous. So can we see what the chart looks like with the asteroids laid on it?
Yeah, we can turn them on. We'll turn Merlin on. You can't turn them all on, of course. Like I said, you can do a maximum of 50, but
Okay, okay.
I'll just do one right now. So there's Merlin down here.
Oh, interesting. So you can't look at your chart with your asteroids on it.
Oh no, oh, I see. You can. So let me pull up a chart here. So this is just kind of a test chart, a little Maria mystery here. So here's a natal chart, and you'll notice you may have noticed there's different options here now in this chart menu on the right.
Hmm.
So that changed. So it's contextual based on what you're looking at. So you're looking at a natal chart now, and so what we could do is, first of all, you can just browse over here now. And these are her asteroids. So you're looking at Maria right up here, born October 12th, 1997. Not a real person, by the way, just a sample I made up.
Maria Mystery.
Right. And so these are all of her asteroid placements right here. You could pick the
Wow.
ones you want to see on the chart, or I could do you one better and you could search for ones that you might find interesting. So you could do a new search and you could say,
Moira, can we look at Moira, my favorite asteroid?
yeah. For that, we could just go right to it. If we know the name, and there you go. So it's at 10 Scorpio in this chart. Turn
Oh.
it on. Oh, and I still have Merlin turned on. So that's Moira. Oops, oops, oops. I didn't mean to zoom. It's Moira, and then this is Merlin down here. But what I was going to show is that, like, let's say you want to see if any asteroids were conjunct the moon. Instead of just looking, you could say, you just select asteroids here, conjunction, moon, and let's keep a tight orb. Let's say a half of a degree orb on that. Okay, and we'll wait a little while. It takes a few seconds, but basically, while that's running, we created a search to look through the entire asteroid catalog. That's going to show us all asteroids that are conjunct the moon within a half of a degree orb.
Wow. Interesting.
So that can be kind of a useful thing.
That's a cool feature. Do you
Uh,
play the guitar?
I do. I mean, it's been a while. Oh, finished. 41 were found. I used to play a lot back in the day. I was in bands and,
Okay.
goofing around, all that stuff. But
I just because you have the ask because you have the guitar and you're a Pisces moon, so I had to know.
yeah,
Um,
I still will pick it up every once in a while and try to, cludgingly strum some chords that I've all but forgotten.
Interesting. Okay, so let's that's cool about the asteroids. I love
Yeah.
that. So if you want the noisy chart, you can have that.
Yeah.
Um, what are the tabs up there? Let's look at those maybe.
Yeah, so we've already been looking at the chart, though, or the horoscope tab. That's that one. And then
Okay.
you come over to the right, and there's this infographic, which kind of gives you a little bit of a high-level overview of what's happening with the chart. Again, a little bit of a learning tool. So someone might not know what their sun, moon, and rising is just by looking at the chart. Well, you can just come here, kind of gives you a little dashboard. Here's a little bit more content. This is the
Nice.
first quarter square.
So it talks
Type.
about the moon phase.
Yeah, it gives you the moon phase as well for the chart.
Oh, a lot of people love that moon phases stuff.
Correct. That was over here as well. So if you go to this Trinity Inclination tab, it shows you the moon phase. Shows you the big three and the moon phase right here for every chart.
Wow, that's cool.
And then it's just
I'll have to
repeated.
tell my students we're doing a moon phases class in a few weeks, so I'll tell them.
Nice. Um, and then here's just some charts I put together. It shows a distribution of the qualities. These are the cardinal points. I'm sorry, those are the mutable points over there. These are the cardinal, these are the fixed. So you kind of visually see here's your
Wow.
element on the right, obviously. So you fire, earth, air, water.
Oh, so you got the modes and elements in there too. Okay, cool.
Exactly, exactly. So um, this is called a bubble chart. As you can see, little bubbles. And the idea here is trying to show the kind of the relative distribution of types of aspects. So in this particular person's chart, conjunctions are kind of big, squares next, trines are a little smaller, oppositions not so much. Uh,
So it's interesting. So how many of each aspect you have?
right. So a bubble chart works by like, as the number gets bigger, the bubble gets bigger, basically.
Okay. They kind
And
of look
they're
like planets, honestly.
They do look like planets, you're right. This one especially looks like Saturn with the word across it.
Yeah, totally. But now that I know how to read the chart, I see what you're saying. Like this chart has mostly conjunctions and or something like that. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, it's just a different way to kind of analyze things, but it's all based also on your settings. So, this data will change if you turn more chart points on or off, or
okay.
make your
Yeah.
orbs wider or tighter, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um, why don't I do this? Why don't we show, let's see, and then you have, this is an aspect table that you can actually search and sort. So we could actually look for those let's find the tightest conjunction in the chart. We can sort by angle, and then there's a Sun Mercury conjunction. Or actually, let's sort by orb and then just type in conjunction. So the tightest conjunction is Venus Pluto
Okay,
because it
interesting.
has a smallest orb. It's less than half of a degree. It's only a 23-minute orb,
Hmm.
and it's a conjunction. We filtered out the word conjunction here. So it's kind of an interesting way to look at aspects. Another way to sort of look at the data again. Um, we looked at chart points. There's midpoints as well. So if
Okay,
I don't
more
know if you
noise. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know. No, you're absolutely right, though. I mean, it is. It's something to kind of, it's something to be judicious about, I think. We have to use
Yeah. Well,
some
and of
discernment.
course, but what's cool about what you have here, right, is like you want to have more features available for the different people who want to use them, right? If I don't like
Right.
noisy parts, I don't have to put them on the chart. Like that's my prerogative. So the fact that
Mhm.
you're able to look at midpoints on here is a boon to the software. I mean, you know what I mean? Like it would be you'd
Mhm.
be remiss in some ways to not put these things in there.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But it is still, I'm always trying to walk that line between features and simplicity because the more flexibility you give, the more features you give, things get more complicated. And
Yeah.
and I still want to keep it simple and clean. That's a really kind of a primary part of my design ethos, however you say that word. And so I have to be careful. I don't want to just put everything in but the kitchen sink, as they say.
Yeah.
Uh, but
Yeah. How do you see the kitchen sink in the chart? No. Probably an asteroid, actually.
honestly, you might be right about that. We didn't look at any bi-wheel stuff. I don't know if you want to do that. I
Sure.
don't know if we can
We have
want to maybe.
8 minutes, so whatever you want to show us.
Sure, I'll just show you real quick um, what the bi-wheel looks like. So these are the transits to Maria's chart. And there's a new feature I just put in. This is interactive too, so I wanted to show you some of that. For instance, you've got, here's Mars transiting the first house in this chart. And so now the aspect lines look a little different. You're seeing maybe some solid lines and some dashed lines because it's showing you the aspects that Mars is making in the transit chart, which is in the biwheel, but it's also showing you the aspects Mars is making to the natal chart, which is on the inside.
Oh,
And
interesting. So those planets on the outside are the current transits, and then it's hitting a
Mhm.
natal chart, but it just nicely simply only shows you what aspects is made. Like this is a really cool feature how you pop out the chart to just look at a piece of the puzzle, which is yeah, that's awesome.
So like right here, you've got Mars squaring the Sagittarius planets in the chart. These Sagittarius planets in the fourth house are a part of the natal.
Yeah.
I can isolate that further. So here's Mars square Venus, and it's giving me the perfection time as well. So transiting Mars squared this person's natal Venus a couple days ago at 10:40 in the morning. Uh, you can.
Yeah, we call these exploded charts, like where you like hone in on a certain piece of the puzzle. Like
Okay.
architects look at exploded axons where they have a big drawing and then they hone in on like the kitchen sink or they hone in on things. And like astrologers haven't really had like an axon. That's why we always explode the chart under wheels because when you look at all this, it's just a lot. But like what I really like about your software is it like hones in on those exploded pieces. I haven't seen a software that does that. So.
I like that. I like that terminology. Exploding the chart. That's
Yeah, on
good.
the back of our shirts it says Moira Press explode, and then we have the chart exploded out because it's like, yeah, like, well, I mean, there's so much you can do as explosions. Like you can look at like a bipolar chart or a multiple personalities, and you can explode one personality onto each wheel. Basically, I mean, there's a lot you
Oh
can do with
wow.
explosions. So you're
Huh.
maybe there will be some pivotal work done with Luna because it does that. I don't know of another software that does that, but I don't know a lot of software. So.
How does that work? Is that like, so you said like you would cast different charts based on the explosion type? Is that's a
Well, like
specific
if you were
technique?
doing like multiple or like bipolar, you would look at one pole or one aspect cluster on each wheel, right? And then you would run
Oh,
transits to that, kind of thing.
yeah, yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So
Kind of
yeah,
like
so I mean, it could
makes
be
sense.
that your chart or your software is something we can refer people to because it does distill the pieces down. I've never seen a software that does that.
It's nice because I've got that, the Virgo ascendant, but then the Sag Sun and other Sag stuff. I like big picture, but then little details. It's kind of a constant back and forth. Let's capture the essence of something and then drill into it a little bit, or then build it back up into something larger again.
You should look at exploded axons on Google and see how that
Oh,
informs your equation.
I would love to. How do you spell that? Is it
It's just
A?
AXON axonometric. So
Okay,
yeah,
cool. Yeah, that sounds really fascinating.
yeah.
Um,
Anyway, so okay, what else do you want to show us in the next 4 minutes?
there's all kinds of stuff we could show.
Well,
We could.
okay, so first of all, before we show anything else, how
Yeah.
can people get Luna?
Right. So let me just pull up the website here since I'm sharing my screen. You just go to lunaastrology.com. This
Okay,
is
it's lunaastrology.com. So
correct.
what did you say luna.com is?
That's some flooring company.
Oh, flooring. I wore my moon earrings for Luna, everyone.
Yay.
Lunaastrology.com. That's catchy. Luna Astrology.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
and by the way, we're in the process of developing a new public website, so this will probably be changing in the next month or so. Uh,
Okay.
but it'll be the same destination, so you still go to the same place, lunaastrology.com. And you can just start now, sign up right away if you like. There's the pricing I was telling you about, $7.99 monthly, $59.99 yearly, and it's all cloud-based, so it's access is available instantly once you do the sign up. And then I've got, you know, feature highlights. Whoops, I didn't mean to move
Can
that.
people pay with PayPal and Venmo? Or
There's several different payment options. PayPal is possible if you can't use the Stripe checkout methods.
okay.
I do have some folks like especially who are international who they can't use some of the Stripe options for some reason. Uh, I could show you the checkout page, but I'd have to put in all that data.
Okay.
But there's a lot of different pay options with Stripe. That's the payment processor we use, and they're really good. So probably that would work. They might take Venmo. I don't know. It's a good question.
Okay, well, people can figure that out with. So go to lunaastrology.com. Now, if people, Kevin DeCapity is your name.
Nice.
So if
Nice.
people want to talk to you personally, how can they get a hold of you or can they?
They can't just fill out a support request. It goes right to my inbox. So I handle all the support. So that this is basically an email directly to me, and then I'll write you back.
Okay.
Also, there's a Luna social media account on Instagram. So you can go to Instagram and look for Luna. I think it's luna.cloud software on there. But and there should be a link to it down here
Okay,
too.
Luna.cloud software on
Yeah,
Instagram.
there it is.
Okay.
Here's the Instagram page.
Okay, interesting. Interesting. Okay. Cool.
but I don't check this as often. So it's much better to just directly reach out through the support form. And you can do that from the website. If you're an existing customer, you can do it from within the app. There's a support form right here, so you don't even have to leave the app to fill out a support request. I
Mhm.
really try, for me, customer support is really important. I keep it's as human as possible, it's just me. So uh,
Oh my.
I
Well,
love
this has
talking to
been
people. It's
awesome.
great.
I'm so glad we had an hour to talk because when we met at Norwalk, we didn't really have time for us to see what you were up to. And I really do think this is a really cool thing you've done. And any last things you want to mention?
I don't think so. I mean, honestly, I really appreciate you giving me this time, Andy. This has been great. And like I said, I stand by to support people, whatever they need. If they have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer and chat. There's a knowledge base as well that you can access to learn more about some of the technical stuff that Luna does. Um, and that's
All right,
available on the
everyone.
website.
Well, if you want a chart or a program that can do the kind of distilled explosive explosion pieces and is very clean line, I think Luna's a good option for you. So, Kevin, well, it's been good to getting to know you. Maybe we'll see you at Tuesday someday.
That'd be great. All right.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.